amendments. The chair will check. Just a moment. The chair will have to rule on a parliamentary matter whether it is appropriate to amend an amendment. And the chair needs to review the bylaw. Chapter 2 of the North Reading General Bylaws, which deals with the rules for town meeting, does not address the question of amendments to amendments, and therefore Robert's rules apply. And under Robert's rules, we can amend an amendment, but we can't amend an amendment to an amendment. So the motion that Mr. Dodge made is in order, but any further amendments made will not be in order. Okay, the motion is to amend, the motion, which is a motion to amend, to have the committee and any...
Can't read it.
I can't read your handwriting, Mr. Dodge.
To have the committee
and any replacements appointed by the town moderator. Okay. On the motion to amend the amendment, is there any discussion, Mr. Dodge?
By the way, this is my personal amendment, not an amendment from the Finance Committee. My belief is, right now, that I think that there is a very big need for committees such as this. The part I'm not in favor of is having 6 or 7 names thrown at us from the floor, and none of us know anything about some of the people or whatever. I don't think that's fair to us. I'm also firmly convinced that this is a continuation of the battle that is going on between the Selectmen and the Hillview Commission. So thus, I feel that the appointment should be made by the town moderator to take any politics out of the situation.
Mr. Norton. Please state your name and address, sir.
John Norton, 11 Irwin Road. I originally rose to speak in favor of the amendment as presented. However, I would be in favor of Mr. Dodge's amendment to that. As far as the appointment of the people, whether it's by town meeting or whether it's by the moderator, I really don't have a problem either way with the appointments. I would like to speak in favor of the gentleman's motion as presented. I feel that town meeting, as most of you know, is the purest form of government. I think the creation of the committee under town meeting is really the best route to go. To have that committee act independently, to have that committee come back and make a full report to town meeting is the best way to go. I believe that we have a great number of areas that should be explored. I know when I was on the Finance Committee a few years ago, we had recreation coming before us. They tried to the best of their ability to address some of these areas. We had various groups at certain times that wanted to have specific items addressed in the nature of recreational facilities. Again, while they were well-intentioned, it was always a fragmented or splinter-type operation. I think if you have one cohesive group doing a study with the input from the other boards and committees, it's going to be a well-thought-out report, and it will be a report that can be followed for years to come. And I would strongly urge that this amendment to Article 1 be passed.
Gentleman in the rear, please state your name and address, sir. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator, Steve O'Leary, 15 Mead Road. Could I just ask for maybe another reading or just a brief synopsis from the chair as to exactly what this is going to form a committee to study open space, the acquisition of open space, etc. Is it specifically for recreational purposes, along with...
The chair will read the lead-in paragraph of the motion again. which is that town meeting establish a committee of 7 citizens and select the members of the committee to study and investigate the feasibility of acquisition and or utilization of lands within the town for use as open space, aquifer, floodplain and wetland protection, passive recreation, recreation sites, parklands and other similar uses consistent with the enhancement of the quality of life in North Reading.
Thank you. I was just handed a copy of the motion. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Harmeling. 2 comments. One in relation to the specific amendment which was made by Mr. Dodge. If it's town meeting's intention, members of this town meeting's intention to vote in favor of this concept and article as a whole, I would wholeheartedly endorse Mr. Dodge's amendment. I have a problem, first of all, with any board or committee or commission being self-perpetuating, whereby any vacancy which occurs is then filled from within itself or by itself. I have a basic problem with that as far as stacking them after the fact if there are some resignations, and I think it would be important to have an independent party, whether it be the moderator or the Board of Selectmen or some sort of a joint committee to fill those vacancies. But on the article as a whole, if I may, Mr. Moderator, I think we're maybe jumping the gun here, and I think this is somewhat, as Mr. Dodge pointed out, a culmination of some frustration and between a couple of committees and boards in town and their inability to seem to resolve their differences of opinion over the last several months. And I don't think this is the way we should be handling it. I think that anybody who was at town meeting a few years back when the acquisition was voted by town meeting to take the Hillview Country Club by eminent domain, remember the terminology that was used and the phraseology, which was, we're going to take it to protect the aquifer out there, and that was our primary concern, and maintain the open space. But additionally, with any assistance from the commission, which has done a very good job in managing the facility, it would turn into, quote, a cash cow. And that cash cow would produce some revenues for our community that could be put and utilized, put to some services, maintaining the services that we currently enjoy, or to fund maybe some specific and special projects, some unforeseen expenses or whatever. I think what we have is a group of people maybe that have the good intentions, but I think we may be jumping the gun here. We haven't got the final revenue figures exactly as to what we're going to be generating here. I think we have some circumstances facing the community with a cutback in local aid that we didn't foresee 5 years ago. And I think to just earmark these funds for a specific purpose, even in the next 6 months to a year, may be the wrong route to take. And I think placing the monies that the additional revenues which are turned over to the town, which is exactly what we anticipated would happen, that the Hillview would generate income and would bring money back to the town, should be placed into either the reserve or the stabilization fund, and allow town meeting then to appropriate the money for whatever purpose they deem necessary at that time. And a 2/3 vote from town meeting out of the stabilization fund certainly would get a good cross-section of opinion from the community as to what specific projects we might want to fund at any particular given point in time. If we want to have an open study committee for this particular purpose, the Board of Selectmen has the authority to do so. The Finance Committee can call for it. The Planning Commission can do it. The Recreation Commission can ask for assistance.
Mr. O'Leary, the chair is going to cut you off. Let us restrict the debate on the second-tier amendment, which is Mr. Dodge's amendment to delete basically the election and to put the election into the hands of the moderator.
On the amendment then, Mr. Moderator, I would just urge the people to please support the amendment so that this body does not become a self-perpetuating thing where they fill the vacancies from within themselves and allow the moderator, as proposed, to fill the vacancies. Thank you.
Mr. Billows.
Walter Billows, 175 North Street. Mr. Moderator, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on your foresight for establishing perhaps a necessary procedure to allow the people of the town to be heard at town meeting. And I personally thank you for that. I think that that's very, very healthy. And I think debate is healthy. And in the debate, there's been some very good points. The point that Mr. Dodge had made certainly is a good point. Mr. O'Leary also, as far as the issue of self-perpetuating. I think that the amendment that was originally placed, not the amendment to the amendment, but the substance of the amendment to create the committee, I think is a healthy thing to have. There has been no discussion.
Billows, could we limit ourselves right now to the debate on the second-tier amendment?
Well,
and we will continue. I will recognize you again for speaking on the main amendment once the second-tier amendment has been disposed of.
I will, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Billows.
As best I can. The election of the individuals is, in a sense, immaterial. But looking at the moderator's responsibilities, these are individuals that have been proposed who are not presently active in town government. And I would just suggest that if the amendment to the amendment is passed, that consideration is given to the slate that has been proposed. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Mrs. Belmonte.
While Mr. Dodge made the motion as a citizen, the Finance Committee definitely supports him, and they feel the same way, that the moderator should appoint this committee. And those 7 names that were mentioned should also be considered for that committee.
Mr. Sandorfi.
Mr. Moderator, I move the motion.
The motion is for the question on the second-tier amendment. That is to terminate debate. On the motion to terminate debate, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Now, under our bylaws, the proponent now still has about 2 minutes or so to talk to the meeting. I take it that Mr. Dodge will forego the pleasure. Yeah. All right. On the second-tier amendment, and I will read it. Move to amend the motion to amend to have the committee and any replacements appointed by the town moderator. On that motion, it requires a simple majority. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion is carried. Now, the chair will interpret this motion to mean that all those parts of the original amendment that relate to the selection of the members of the committee by town meeting and who those members are be deleted. And therefore, I will now read the motion as it would in effect be amended by the motion to amend. I move that this town meeting establish a committee of 7 citizens to study and investigate the feasibility of acquisition and or utilization of lands within the town for use as open space, aquifer, floodplain and wetland protection, passive recreation, recreation sites, parklands and other similar uses consistent with the enhancement of the quality of life in North Reading. That the committee shall be called the Land Utilization Committee, that the committee further study the feasibility of the use of surplus monies from the operation of the Hillview facility as a source of funding for such uses and improvements or potential acquisitions for purposes mentioned above, that any vacant, that is deleted now, that the committee shall be authorized to appoint such non-voting associate members as it deems expedient and necessary, that all boards and committees and departments of the town be instructed to cooperate with and assist the committee in every reasonable manner, and that the committee shall make a report including any proposed warrant articles to implement its recommendations to be presented on or before the 1993 annual town meeting. Now, on the motion to amend, is there any further discussion? Mr. Senior. Let's take Mr. Senior first, and then we'll take Mr. Billows. Mr. Senior. Your point is well taken, Mr. Senior. There will be a statement added to the effect of to be appointed by the moderator in the lead-in section. Mr. Billows.